Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing? What's going on? Welcome to episode 24 of Merchants of Novigrad, a bi-weekly podcast where we discuss everything Gwent. Today with me, my brother in arms, Hesser Tavern, and as you guys can see, once again, we have a very unique guest for the first time in this kind of setting, the Gwent Live Ops Director, Vlad Tortsov. How are you guys doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the podcast today.
Before we dive into it, as always, a few words to our viewers. Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask them in chat. Esser, as usual, has been charged with the task of collecting the more interesting ones, and we will try to answer them as we go. Also, if you want to stay in touch off stream, you can follow us on Twitter at Novigrad Podcast. And if you don't have the time to watch this episode right now, it's going to be uploaded on YouTube, Spotify, and numerous other platforms either today or tomorrow. With that being said, let's go straight into our first segment, which is what have you been up to. Vlad, you've recently made your debut during dev stream. How did it feel?
That's true. I kind of tend to like to be in the shadows most of the time. All these jokes about vampires aside. I just decided that maybe since we will have an esports dedicated subject, I will be the best person to talk about it. And we discussed with Burza that it would be nice to show my face once in a while. And I hope that in the future you will be able to see me more in official streams, maybe in the community streams such as this one a bit more. I'm happy to establish this channel of communication with the community.
And we are happy to have you here as well, and we are happy to see more of you, because recently I've also noticed that you've been a little bit more active on Reddit. Answering all kinds of questions, not only about your field of expertise, but also about balance.
No, you don't expect me, to join the balance discussions on a regular matter. I would leave this to the professionals. But like my increased activity on Reddit, I think, related to the fact that previously, in the beginning of my career at CDPR, I was only responsible for esports. So the topics in which I could engage with the community were rather limited. And right now, my area of responsibilities is wider, so I can actually talk about a little bit more things in general.
Awesome. Moving on to the next topic. How are you guys feeling? Because we learned that Pavel has recently recovered from the coronavirus. Did you guys manage to, keep things under control at CDPR, or did more people get infected? Because as far as I know, Pavel first got sick during the Open.
Yes, that's true. He felt worse after the first day of the Open, so we had to quickly find out the replacement. Panda was very nice of taking the hosting duties on day 2 from Pavel, and also interviewing players. So we managed to make it work. As for the health situation within the team, we all did our tests after Pavel made his test, and it's proved to be positive. It was obligatory. And unfortunately, no one else got infected, so we managed to keep it under control. And Burza, as far as I can tell, judging by his Twitter, and also, of course, we were talking every day for the job matters. He's feeling good, so I think the case is closed, and we dodged the bullet. Everything really went well at that time.
That's great to hear.
Yeah,
and speaking of which, Hesser, how are the classes going? Because I remember you were really worried about there being a second lockdown, and that affecting your business.
yeah. Well, fortunately, we managed so far to dodge that bullet as well, and there's no prospects of second lockdown coming in for Poland. But you never know. You never know. They are planning to reopen the malls next weekend, so hopefully the situation is under control and it's getting back to normal. I have some classes running in the office still. Still looking for new students on the internet for the online classes. So far so good. So far so good. I hope it's gonna be like that.
Okay, I think we exhausted the options when it comes to this segment, and let's move on to what's happening when, because that's what people want to hear about more. And before we start talking about the upcoming expansion, there's one question I want to ask, Vlad. Before the expansion was revealed, we were promised a patch to shake things up, and as far as I can see, that patch has never really happened.
Oh, it's not entirely true. I mean, I think when Jason mentioned something about shaking things up with the update, what he actually meant is that there will be one card released, which is Alzer. We never did it before. We actually had plans in the past to do something similar with Master Mirror, but it was never done for technical reasons. But this time we wanted to make the start of the pre-orders something special, in the sense that it's not only the vanities which you can get immediately and start using after you purchase the pre-order package, but also a card from the new expansion. So it's kind of glimpse into things to come and something for people to interact in the game. So from this perspective, I don't think that Alzer itself can shake the meta in the sense that it's massive change. But if you look at this the way I described, I think it was a nice spicy addition to the patch. So sorry if the expectations were raised a bit higher than they should be, but it happens sometimes.
Oh yeah, the expectations are always sky high when Pavel or Slama or even you, when you guys mention anything on social media, people are like, oh my god, there is this massive thing coming to Gwent. An example of that being when Jason said that Novigrad needs some love, and people were already expecting a massive overhaul, similar to what NR has received some time ago. But enough about the patch, because as you said, we got a new card. The draft mode has been revamped a little bit, but the talk of the town is obviously the expansion. Before we start talking about it, let's show the trailer once again so that people can watch it with us.
Your most serene majesty, we find ourselves in a world turned most foul. A world filled with innumerable horrors, monstrosities that prey on the meek and mighty alike. 'Tis truly a wretched scourge born of nightmares. Yet it need not be so. Freed of the fetters of the spineless council, we can create something new. Hunters of exceptional strength, speed, agility. Equipped to overcome absolutely any foe. Bards will toil to do justice to their feats. For sometimes one needs a monster to slay a monster. Is it just me, or does that sound far too serious? Once again, from the top.
As usual.
I think one of the best that we made, but I kind of tend to say it about every latest trailer that we released. I think the team is really evolving and progressing with every new one.
I think it's the best one up to date. And
I think
it shows.
I think
so
the team
cards.
is really rich. Also, the way of the Witchers. Finally, we were putting more Witchers into the Witcher card game. So, like the team is so epic that it's really hype and cool to see.
Okay, guys. So, what are your first impressions, and what can we expect down the road?
Hesser, do you want to start with impressions?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that for me right now, the best cards would be the Syndicate ones. I think I really like the addition of that self-poisoning archetype. I think this is going to be something really spicy. Although a lot of people are hating that on Reddit or whatever in some other social media, but I think this is going to be another archetype, and it's going to be viable. I think everyone is like waiting for some buffs for Nilfgaard, obviously, and maybe for monsters for something spicy, but this is gonna be my number one for now. I'm waiting for more additions to that one, definitely.
Yeah, well, for me, this expansion is all about the Witchers. So I'm really curious about the Witcher tribal and Witcher archetype, which can emerge after the release of this expansion. So even though probably my favorite card out of everything that was revealed so far would be this Fukai. I hope I pronounce it right. That was released just I think yesterday. The monsters card with Strife that also being triggered when your opponent playing unit. I think it's a combination of such a nice design with very beautiful art. So probably this would be my favorite up to date. But Witchers are definitely stealing the spotlight for this expansion. So I'm really curious like how powerful they're going to be at the end after we will release everything and after players will discover all the possible synergies and mechanics. And I think, of course, adrenaline is very interesting as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about the new keyword in a moment.
Yeah, that's right.
But
well, we actually mentioned something about the new cards and all the reveals so far, but we have a new addition to the dev team as well, right? Maligian, and we've seen him explaining the cards during the stream, which was pretty awesome, actually, from the former pro player point of view. And yeah, are you guys excited about the videos with him explaining the cards, making it more viable for the newer players as well?
Well, I'm super excited. I think Maligian is a great addition to the team, and I'm really happy to see that with Ryan on board as well, we have more faces on a regular basis. Being presenting stuff to the community, explaining how things work, and I think the fact that Maligian really comes from the very active players, pro players even. Yeah. Really helps to kind of establish this connection with, the company that allegedly doesn't know anything about creating cards or balancing the game with, someone from the community who has a crazy amount of hours in Gwent under the belt and can actually speak from this perspective as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got like a couple of thousand of hours. So you definitely can say that, he's got a lot of experience in that field. Yeah, but let's move to the adrenaline, right? What's our take on this new edition? I think that implementing new keywords is crucial for the game to be like fresh and alive. And this one is really good. I really like it. I haven't seen it before in other card games, and I think it's going to make sense in decision making during the longer and shorter rounds. And it's something that pro players will probably enjoy the most, I'm thinking. But yeah, what's your take on that?
Well, my take is very similar to yours. I also think that the mechanic is very unique in many ways. I also find it rather original. It's hard to say yet, like how much used it's going to be, because what I actually like the most about this mechanic is that it works both ways, right? So it can be a positive effect, it can be negative effect based on the card. So not all adrenaline cards you actually would be excited about getting into the adrenaline zone, but that's also what makes it very interesting in my opinion.
What I really like about adrenaline is that the cards suddenly become more flexible. Like you can go, all in to cash on the adrenaline effect, but you don't have to. And it also adds the aspect of the games being more predictable, because you know how many cards your opponent has in hand, so you can like knowing more or less what he's playing, you can try to figure out whether or not he's playing this card next. But I have a question about the specific card because it was mentioned on Reddit a couple of times. Colgrim not having armor or any kind of protection, and his interaction with Uncrate Longship.
What exactly will what will
because
happen?
Colgrim is 1 power, so if you play him, he will just get killed by the Longship.
Yes, I believe so. I don't think it's have any protection built in, so it can be killed by this. Don't quote me on that because like probably our designers would maybe they could confirm it better than me, but I believe it should work like that.
Oh wow! So that's gonna be some really high risk play to include Colgrim in your deck for 9 provisions just to be smacked by a boat.
I mean, in this case, you just need to take care of the boat first, right? So this is really the case of setting up the board for playing this card. But I do agree that it sounds risky.
Well, I mean, Nilfgaard has a lot of tools to take down the ship pretty effectively, so
you don't need to destroy it. You can just move it to another row, right?
Oh yeah, Nilfgaard doesn't really have movement, so it's not really possible unless you are telling us that they are getting movement this expansion.
No, not saying anything like that. I don't know.
So yeah, so it seems like there are gonna be a couple of options. There are locks, obviously. You can destroy the card with cards like Assassination, and the new one, Coated Blade.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's also 5 power damage.
Yeah. And you have a lot of locks. Well, you have what else do you have? You can play Radea, for instance, right? With how do you call that? With the collar.
I mean, you don't even have to play Radea. A lot of people are playing the Van Moorhem
you can just use
Hunter,
yeah,
which is a very flexible 4-point card. So provision card. So yeah, you can. Like if you are playing Colgrim, you just have to remember that whenever you match against Skellige, you have to keep that in mind that they might be playing the Longship. But we've been talking a lot about leaks and about what we've seen so far, and you've not come empty-handed.
It's true.
So what do you have for us?
So one, should I say, bombastic leak that I wrote today. This card, which actually called "Making a Bomb," and you can see that we were talking about movement just a moment ago. So there you go, and this card enables a movement of the unit and gives either bleeding or damaging based on the state of the row in which unit was just moved. And to me, that probably what I like about this card the most is I think the art is absolutely gorgeous in this case. Well, it can be said about many Gwen cards, but like the photorealism of this one is just drives me crazy. But at the same time, I think this is a really nice addition to the bomb family in Gwent. And I know for a while bombs were a bit underwhelming and kind of marginal, but I hope this is more interesting addition to this type of spells. It will see more play.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but this happens to be the first non-neutral bomb in the game.
I'm actually not sure, but you may be right.
That's a good trivia question.
Yeah, that is a good trivia question. Because I really think that all the bombs we've seen so far are neutral cards, and this one is a Scoia'tael one.
Yeah.
Have you guys considered giving it a nature tag just to be played with FoV?
Oh, but I don't think it's really. It would be really not saying lore friendly, but with bombs they're destroying nature. They're not part of the nature.
I mean, you never know. Maybe they are only using natural ingredients to make the bomb.
Maybe. To me, this is more about that Squirtle faction is not all about the nature and tree hugging and like elves and people living in the forest, but it's also about this guerrilla movement. It's about resistance. There's almost like elven terrorists doing their producing weapons and attacking other factions. So I think that this is like another part of this faction.
Calling elves terrorists. I hope Pavel is not watching this.
He's the main terrorist there.
Because tomorrow Monday you might have a hard time
getting coffee,
getting coffee, and even talking to Pavel. It's calling his favorite faction terrorists. Whew.
With elves, I remember I was supporting them during my playthrough in the first Witcher. I was kind of sympathetic to the cause and whatnot. And I remember in second Witcher, I also was standing on the side of Jorvet in my playthrough. So I was with them for a while, and then with The Witcher 3, my overlook at what they are in the lore and how squared elves are, what their philosophy and what they're fighting for kind of changed. So by the moment Gwen arrived, I was already a Nilfgaard main, so to say.
I see, man of the culture. But moving on. To kind of follow up on the review campaign, how is it gonna look like this time around? Because we've seen that every expansion uses a different model. Like sometimes it's mostly CDPR that reviews the cards. Sometimes it's mostly the community. So what do you have in mind this time around? How is the campaign gonna look like moving on?
I think this time the balance looking like 22 versus 84 in sense of how many cards will be revealed by CDPR versus how many of those will be revealed by the community, whereas the community taking the majority. Of course, like some of the cards which are in the CDPR list are either in the initial reveal, which has already happened on the day one, or we also plan to reveal some very exciting cards, saving the best for last for World Masters in December. So shameless plug here. You should definitely watch it, even if you're maybe not so interested in esports, but very interested in leagues. We have some juicy ones just for December 5 and 5th and 6th.
All right.
I mean, the competitive events are always nice to watch, but if you throw some leaks on top, it makes it extra spicy.
And it's gonna be the grand finale, so well, guys, you have to watch it. This is something that doesn't happen like every day.
Moving on.
All right, but let's move on to the dev streams. We've seen you in a pretty different format last time during the last Open. But we wanted to ask what happened to the Twitch developer streams. Is it going to be moved to the events and YouTube permanently right now, or do you have some other plans for that?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure if we'll be switching completely. Most probably we'll be still balancing between two platforms. I think YouTube Premiere really works nice for us because it's nice to create this kind of anticipation just before the broadcast or the video will start. But of course, Twitch is the best when it comes for the not pre-recorded but for live stuff. So I think it's not like it's either one or another. I think we'll be present on both platforms depending on what exactly we want to show you guys, and also if the live interaction with the chat is important, because I remember some very nice examples when I think Buja and Jason were on stream just reading questions from the chat and doing comments. I mean, on the dev stream video, not the unofficial Jason's video with Buja. And that was very, very cool.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed like those, private stream shenanigans with Jason and the other devs. That would be awesome to have like other people from the team doing the same thing, just to to know the team better, to know their point of view, to know the minds behind the game. That'd be pretty awesome, I think.
Actually, that's another question we can ask. How did you guys feel when Jason started doing his YOLO Twitch streams, just completely ignoring any kind of community guidelines and just streaming on his own, leaking everything?
Oh, it's not like that. I think, of course, we were watching these streams and we would let Jason know if something is, if he's leaking too much or something crazy is going on. So it's not like it's a complete YOLO thing. I think that these streams are amazing because it's a little bit more unofficial and less strict than the official stuff that we're doing from the studio and whatnot, and also this home atmosphere. Also, I think adding a little bit of a special flavor during this period of pandemic isolation. So I'm a big fan of this. I also really like the fact that more people from Gwen's team are getting the spotlight. So there are less unknown heroes or just unknown developers working behind the game, and there are more and more people that can talk about the stuff that they're working, share the excitement. I think the stream with Ola Rudkovska was very, very awesome in this regard, because I know she's awesome because I work with her every day. But for the community, it was so far pretty much unknown person. So it's very cool when new devs are stepping into the spotlight this way.
Speaking of new faces, we actually got a new community manager, so I'm wondering, when are we going to see her for the first time in such a setting?
Here, you didn't know that? She's gonna come to our stream.
Something happened. Vlad lost connection for a moment.
All right, don't worry, guys. Now we can think about the questions for Vlad, guys. If you have any questions, just type them in chat, and we're gonna ask them at the end of the stream. So make sure you're asking really, good questions, so we can get some additional leaks, maybe from Vlad. Well, still we have a lot of interesting ones in our pockets, but as usual, we need your help.
And Vlad is back. What happened?
I think my internet connection decided to die for a second. So if I missed anything in the last couple of seconds, please repeat.
No, we just asked when are we gonna see Anna, the new community manager, either on a developer stream or any kind of public setting, so that we can get to know each other.
Oh, I hope soon enough. Like I don't want to to exert any kind of pressure. I think it should happen organically, and I'm just excited that the team is being expanded, and there will be more people interacting with the community. So I think soon enough is the answer.
Awesome. We've been talking about a lot about the expansion and everything related to that, but that's not the only thing that people are talking about. Obviously, we have the draft mode, and
oh yeah,
from what I've seen, a lot of people are playing it. Like it seems to me it has become the favorite mode for many people. So the question is, are you guys happy with how things unfolded, and what can we expect from the mode in the future? Especially regarding pricing and rewards, because I can imagine that this free format is not gonna last forever. That it's only here for the early access.
Yeah, right. So I think the real purpose of their early access launch is for us to get exactly this, to get all kinds of feedback and understanding what people are excited about, what they're less excited about, or what they hate even with the new mode. For us, it's like relatively big experiment because it's, I would say, drastically different from the old arena. Maybe only the high-level concept is the same, that you don't play with the pre-constructed deck, but you're building your deck on the fly. Everything else is pretty much different, and so there is a lot of changes, and I can totally see that some people are expressing they love for the new format. Some people are saying that they prefer the old arena more. But in terms of the, you know, the numbers and popularity, clearly we see that the draft is more popular than the old arena was. So that's one thing. In terms of how satisfied we are, I would say that it's really early to say, because we're at just the beginning of the journey for draft. Like the early access means that we will be constantly evolving this mode, and it's really the plan. Like we have a lot of tools to do that, from, you know, adding new cards and editing packages to adding new features and functionalities. I think definitely the big thing to tackle, big feature to add, is to have a meaningful progression system, because right now it's more of a sandbox-ish kind of thing, in which you're basically setting up goals for yourself, play until 7 wins, or I don't know, create the craziest deck possible with like crazy cleaning and whatnot. But I think it would be nice to give some goals for players to work towards too. And like if the rewards are fitting somewhere into this progression system, then we should think about introducing those as well.
You know, speaking of crazy combos, there's something I absolutely have to ask. What's the deal with having either Gort or Alzur as your core card and not getting a single spell option throughout the draft?
I think it's just a configuration hiccup, and this is something that we should address in one of the future updates, just to ensure that the synergy is working as intended.
Yeah, because I found it funny that, you know, I had an amazing Alzur deck without a single spell. I mean, it was still a 7-win deck, so I was really happy with that. But I just found it hilarious. You know, okay, Alzur, yeah, I'm gonna get all these cool effects now, not a single spell.
Well, yeah, I guess it's just a little bit more random than we wanted. Because, you know, the other thing which I would personally hate to see draft becoming another ranked or another constructed in this sense. So even though the synergies should be meaningful and your draft deck should feel like a deck, not just like a pile of cards, at the same time, it shouldn't be super optimized, because otherwise, what's the point, right? Like you should, there should still be some element of unpredictability and also dependency on your decision. So there is no like perfect script or perfect scenario that you should follow in order to build the decks which will rule them all.
Yeah, that explains it though. Like, it shouldn't be like Arena, where it's just a pile of cards, but it also shouldn't be ranked. So it's still gonna take a lot of time to properly balance it. And when do you guys expect it to, you know, enter the next stage? So be out of early access and then move to, I don't know, like a beta stage or whatever you guys have in mind?
Well, I would say that the next stage, you know, big stage, would be turning the early access into the full scale release. So there is no, you know, multiple stages like alpha, beta, gamma, and so on. So it definitely will happen next year, but I don't want to commit ours, especially the dev team, to any particular date or months yet. One important thing to say is that it's the draft is designed as a kind of a stream of constant improvements to be released, right? So you can expect pretty much the draft to receive some improvements and some updates with every month, until we are in this shape in which we can consider this as a finished product. Like, this is already perfect. Like we got exactly what we wanted. Players also happy. In this case, we can put a release tag on it instead of the early access and just make it official.
And do you guys plan to organize draft tournaments or draft events?
Well, too early to say about that, because with tournaments, like right now, I think would be rather difficult to do, because the system is completely random when it comes to matchmaking, meaning that like, for example, tournament platform not supporting draft at the moment, etc. But I think it would be nice to explore in the future. I don't personally think that this is a requirement for going into the full release, but as a kind of stretch goal for the future, sure, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, I think this answers all the questions we had about the draft mode. So what else do we have in this segment?
Especially that last part. This is something that we've been really waiting for. I'm really hoping still and begging you guys, if you're considering making it a competitive mode in the future, let's make it. That would be really awesome for that mode, I think, and people would love it. But yeah, let's move to the journey. I think like a lot of people were thinking that one journey right after another might be a bit too much for their, I don't know, time management, for their wallets or whatnot. But what's your take on that, guys? Is it like giving that content really crucial for the game right now, or what was the reasoning behind that?
Well, I think we kind of have the answer to your questions based on the situation that we had between Journey 1 and Journey 2 release, when we had a 1 month without Journey, and we had some other activities run at the same time called Gunter's Ultimate Challenge, I believe. But based on the feedback that we received, also based on the overall engagement of players that we witnessed during this period, I don't think that having these breaks between journeys are optimal or healthy for the game. First of all, because Journey replaced the old progression system with winning rounds and getting crown halves in Gwent. And once Journey is not active, it basically creates a vacuum, right? So we either need to build something completely different just as a placeholder to buy time before new Journey will arrive, or it will become very slow and unexciting period for players. So with that being said, it's actually very challenging for the team as well to develop journeys in the rate of having them back to back. But we do believe that it's important just to ensure that at any point of the year, as a Gwent player, you understand that, okay, I have a really exciting goals to work towards to. I have reasons to play game, if not on a daily, then at least, I don't know, on a weekly basis, and kind of catch up with my quests and have some either reward points or vanities to unlock. So in this sense, I think that having back-to-back journeys is a positive thing. Now, with that being said, I do understand that with series journeys, I think we made some assumptions which proved to be wrong regarding like how the progression should look beyond level 100. So which led to a lot of people feeling burnout a bit, or too tired from grinding the top rewards, even though those rewards, of course, are totally optional. But we can't really tell players like, you should care about this reward or you shouldn't care about this reward. Yeah. So in this sense, we with Auser's journey, I hope we managed to limit this grind in a way that it's much more healthy now, and people don't feel that they're obliged to grind above level 100. And now I think the goal is set a bit more reasonable.
Oh, definitely, because you can also complete the contracts after the journey expires, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, so that gives players a lot of flexibility But yeah, I also understand when the complaints about the grindiness of the journey come from. But as you said, the system is now set up in such a way that you'd have to basically create another event if there was no journey. Like personally, I don't mind. I incidentally have a little bit more time on my hands right now, so I can grind.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like a grind right now. I think in this format, it can function like back to back, obviously, in the future next year. And I think people are going to be satisfied. And I like the fact that you can use all the cosmetics that you're getting and completing additional contracts with that, because that actually pushes people into using these cosmetics and makes them feel that they are actually doing something with the new things, not just using the favorite Shoop, for example, skin or Geralt skin or Ciri, right? So that makes a lot of sense because we have a lot of cosmetics and we have to make people use them somehow, right? Because either way, they are gonna keep getting them.
So there is nothing wrong from my perspective if someone has like his favorite set of vanities and never changes those and always plays with the same card back or I don't know the same even default skin. But at the same time, a lot of players they're craving for more, and there is a lot of collectors which for them basically the goal of playing Gwent is to unlock more stuff and to get more stuff. So we also need to think about these people. And that's why we're trying to produce more exciting and really cool stuff and also experimenting with new kinds of vanities. Because let me just remind you that until recently, for example, we didn't have such thing as coin, for example, right? So coins are the example of the completely new vanities. Until this year, we didn't have animated avatars and borders, right? So the avatars, I think the first one was actually introduced with the pack for Open One, if I remember correctly. So that was very exciting stuff. And like this is a never-ending challenge for us to come up with new kinds of vanities and also kind of raising the bar for the existing types of vanities to make them more and more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense.
There is something I asked multiple times on this podcast. What about cross-character equipables? So, for example, you have the Geralt swords. What about the option to also equip those swords if you are using the Ciri skin?
You mean between Geralt and Ciri, for example?
For example, yeah.
I think it's not completely impossible. Like the only problem that I see is that when we're designing this so-called trinkets, would it be like pieces of clothes or weapons or some other items for the characters, we're trying to design them with the thoughts of the particular character in mind. Like what, for example, if it's Geralt, like which swords he was actually using in the Witcher games, some weapons that players can recognize from their playthroughs. So there is also this lore element, and the true connoisseurs and fans of the Witcher universe, they can say, "Oh, I remember this sword. Like I was fighting this monster in The Witcher 3 with it. Now I should get it." I think having these items universal and equipable between multiple characters kind of defeats this purpose, but I'm not 100% opposed to this. Maybe we'll figure out the way to make it work in a smart way.
All right, that definitely answers my question, because I think when Pavel was here, he said like, "Nah, it's not really gonna work," but now we are moving to it's not entirely impossible.
I mean, everything is possible. It just some things are, let's say, less rewarding when you get them, both for players and from, let's say, either engagement or monetization perspective from our side as well. So what the real challenge is, to pick our battles smartly. As a developers, like this is like the endless opportunities landscape. And we at any point of time, we can decide to invest into one area or into another. And sometimes like some things are just low-hanging fruits, and it's a no-brainer. We don't really need to spend time to decide if we should do it or not. We can just do it and see the results immediately. But with some other things which require a lot of development and a lot of design process, a lot of testing maybe, it's not as straightforward, because investing into something like that would mean not doing something else which might be either equally or more important.
And speaking of low hanging fruits, or things that just seem very obvious, board elements, because you guys keep selling the entire board. But what about giving players the option to win or purchase certain element board elements, like weapons or chests or essentially anything that you could place on the board to make it more to your liking?
How about this? You can purchase like a sentry tower, which will be placed on your board, and it will eventually shoot down your opponent's units. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Gwen Tower defense coming.
You first heard it here on stream. No, I mean, seriously though, it's a nice idea. I don't want to give any promises here, but I can just tell you that we were thinking into these directions already.
All right.
No, not about the towers which are shooting cards, but about the let's say vanity elements on the board, just to avoid any confusion.
I mean, you just said to avoid any confusion. It was just a joke, and I can already see Jason thinking, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, because we already have a ballista on the ship board, right? Did you know that if you click on this, it will shoot just out of the board somewhere into the ocean?
Yeah.
So the concept of the weapons that are working is there. It's just not directed to anyone at the moment.
No. All right, we actually have one more question. I was telling guys in chat that we'll be asking questions by the end of the stream, but one more about the journey here, and I think it's pretty decent. Like, how does the team feel about balancing between well-known characters for Journey, like Geralt and Ciri, and introducing or fleshing out less-known characters, or characters with less lore, like Alzur?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. Like, obviously, with Geralt and Ciri journeys, we were kind of doing the obvious things, using the most recognizable characters from The Witcher 3. With Alzur, it's a step into the completely different direction, which I think very interesting and experimental for us. I think exploring the universe, because Alzur, of course, was mentioned in the books. It's not like we invented Alzur's name and who he was, but at the same time, it's very little of a description given about him, which gives us the freedom to explore, freedom to come up with things about his biography, about his role into how the events of the Witcher were unfolding even before the Geralt's time. So what's kind of like the prequel stuff. So I personally find it very exciting. Of course, it also comes down to how players are receiving this, because I understand that some players may be disappointed because they were expecting to see another famous character, and maybe people already have a list of characters that they would like to see as headliners for journeys. I think the healthy approach would be to mix and match, meaning that it's not like we were switching completely to unknown, unexplored characters from now on. In fact, we already have plans to bring some known characters in the future journeys. But at the same time, I think eventually having journeys dedicated to not so well established in the lore characters can be very exciting, especially if we will find also better synergy between journeys and expansions. Because I think what's also very cool about Alzur's journey and Way of the Witcher expansion is that we can find some like intersections, right? So Alzur actually present in both releases, which makes it cool. And I think exploiting this synergy is really a wise move, and we will try to do it more when it's reasonable and when it's possible in the future.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I think that most of the people would like to see more about the lore of some other less known characters. And yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward for less fleshed out characters in the Witcher lore. People want to know more, just like they liked, for example, the lore that CDPR came up with during The Witcher 3 or the other games. And it pretty much makes sense. And it's valuable as well. Not only the main characters of the books or of the games. Yeah. But the next topic we wanted to start is that the end of the year is slowly approaching, and we were kind of used to you guys going for some sort of a map for the next year. And is there any plan for laying out something about the 2021?
Yes, we probably not probably we actually will be revealing a bit more of our plans, or also on World Masters. So once again, December 5 and 6. Don't mark your calendars, guys. One thing, to set up the expectations properly, because I think it happened with the previous stream which we had during last Open, is that it's I see that there is expectations that we will be releasing like a full-blown roadmaps, which we were trying to move out from. And I think Jason was talking about this last time as well. Like we feel that the value of the roadmap is clear from the player's perspective. First of all, you guys get kind of the confirmation that, oh yes, we're here for a long haul, copyright, and like there are long-term plans to develop the game. But apart from that, us releasing a detailed roadmaps is having this flip side of committing to particular release dates or the cadences, which we might be not entirely comfortable at the moment of such releases. So I think when you guys are asking for roadmap, I think what you're really asking is what's in store, and what will be the next priorities when it comes to the releases, and what are the main features that you can expect in the foreseeable future. And that's something that we're planning to communicate. So yeah, you can expect more glimpses into the future in 2021 plans, including some of the plans regarding esports season, so season S3 on the December stream.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
remember, guys.
Yeah, it seems like the World Masters is gonna be very fruitful in terms of new information and on all kinds of leaks. Not only things that we already discussed, but also the plan for 2021. But there's one more thing I wanted to ask, because we talked about draft, we talked about journey, alternative modes, and this is a question we've got from Reddit. What about seasonal events such as faction challenges? Are they coming back in any capacity?
Right. So the short answer is yes. We would like to have challenges, or I don't know about the name of the event. Maybe we'll rebrand them somehow. The point is that we understand sometimes when there are quiet months without major releases, or maybe it's not the month when just Journey was launched or something like that. It can become a little bit boring to play just for fun, and there should be some additional challenges for our events for people to explore. I think the problem with faction challenges was that it became a little bit too predictable and maybe a bit boring, to be perfectly honest. We would like to experiment with this format more to make it more meaningful. So it's not just about grinding for the faction that has the better chances to win or something like that, but it's really an interesting event in which participation feels special, and it feels that okay, I'm really doing something for to shape the course of the event. My contribution, so to say, really matters for the overall results, and results also matters in terms of the rewards and whatnot. It's definitely not an easy task to tackle because I think even the faction challenges, since they were first introduced, I don't remember how long time ago it was exactly, but quite a long time. Maybe it was before Homecoming. Maybe it was,
I think it was before
around that
Homecoming.
time, before Homecoming. Okay, so it's been a while, and it also survived like multiple iterations. We were constantly experimenting with it, and it became better along this time, but we still were not quite satisfied with the shape challenges we're in. So I do recognize that there is a request from the community and the need for more engagement events like this. But I think we should just spend a little bit more time to figure out and nail down the perfect formula. Like, I'm actually curious about your opinion, guys. What do you think about Yoruga challenge that we introduced, I think, in September? Because from my perspective, that was a quite interesting take on the challenge.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people were saying that, hiding that behind the paywall might be a bad idea, but I really liked it. And I don't think that this was like, the price was so high so that people cannot, for example, just, save up on that and pick it up if they want it. Maybe, making it a bit harder to get in the journey, right? Somehow linking it with the journey and with some other contracts, and then exploring it later on as well with some additional contracts after equipping the board would make sense as well. But in the end, I think that was pretty alright, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion because despite giving away 3 copies of the board, I didn't get one myself. So yeah, I obviously knew about the quest, the challenge regarding the board, but for some strange reason I was late when it comes to buying it because I thought, oh, I still have enough time, and then I completely forgot about that, and then when I wanted to buy it, it was already gone.
Like from my perspective, the right direction with challenges is to have a strong theme. Like that's one of the reasons why I like Yoruga. It's less about the monetization element of it, although it's also important, to kind of justify the development time which goes into this. But it's more about really how do we explain this? Because let's say if we will introduce faction challenges the way they were working a couple of years ago or a year ago, where it just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, okay, Northern Realms versus monsters, go. Like I don't think that there is a lot of theme into this, and it's like players are forced to kind of build this whole like fighting and all this defiance between factions in their own minds. But with Yoruga, at least the theme was really strong. We actually explained like what this is about. We had a nice trailer which showed like favorite characters, and people, of course, knew about this battle from the lore. So I think, personally, I think this is a direction for us to take, in a sense of, okay, every challenge is something special. It's not just some default activity which we're running on the regular basis and no one really cares about because it's just like a small grind mechanism.
Yeah. Well, if you put it that way, I think it makes perfect sense. And I think that, CDPR is so good at bringing up some unknown lore parts or creating their own that, building it around some cosmetics, some vanities would only make sense and make it more exciting, and definitely would justify, for example, the purchase of such vanity. Absolutely.
Before we end this segment, you were talking a lot about the strong theme and storytelling. just to be sure, because it's the kind of question that pops up on Reddit every now and then. You guys are not working on another Thronebreaker.
No, another Thronebreaker is not in the works.
Okay, just thought about it. People often ask about it because they discover, hey, we have Thronebreaker, so they start playing, they like it, and they keep asking, oh, are we getting another game of this kind? And I know that you guys said multiple times that it didn't meet the expectations in terms of sales. But whenever we have a developer on the podcast, I feel like asking just to be sure. But I think this concludes this segment. So we are moving to the territory of competitive Gwent.
All right.
And that's your field of expertise. So the first question is, like, you already leaked a lot of things about the World Masters. But what can we expect in terms of setting and visuals? Because obviously, the Masters is a cherry on top. It's the event to, double them all.
Exactly, yes. And it kind of breaks my heart that we have to do this event online. As much as I'm happy that we managed to switch all our esports events into online this year, and it was kind of inevitable. I also feel that online mode has a lot of restrictions when it comes to the production value. Like literally, we can't have a kick-ass studio, we can't have a confetti, we can't have players facing each other in the same room. All the emotions, all this tension. So it's even hard to talk about this, but at the same time, I can assure you that we will do our best in order to replicate as much as we can from this offline event excitement to the online format. Like for sure, you can expect like fancier on-stream graphics and assets and animations for people that care about like small details like this. I think another leak which I can share. Maybe some people already heard some rumors about it or some discussions about it, is that we would like to bring back Flake into the caster seat, and Shinmiri still will be with us, but will help in the different capacity as an analytic, which we kind of already worked in this format before, and it also was awesome. So you can expect like basically bigger production value by having also the analyst, which will be such a professional analyst as Shinmiri, of course, which will be able to put additional insights into the deck lists of players that they brought, or for example, analyzing like how the games were going after the matches. And I see some questions in the chat related to this. Yes, there will be special rewards for watching World Masters, of course. You can expect more. And another leak, kind of partial leak of a leak. You might want to follow the news next week. I think Tuesday. There will be one important announcement regarding World Masters, which I think all people will be excited about.
Announcing the announcement. Classic.
Classic, yes.
Classic. All right, there's also a question about Shinmiri being the only analyst for World Masters, or can we reveal the other one, or are there any other ones?
No, we so far he's the only analyst. I think he's totally capable of doing this alone. Although for the future, for season 3, we might look into the reshaping our casters / analyst lineup. I think we worked with the lineup for a little long time, and it was very cool. But I'm also open to the possibilities of giving chance actually to the new streamers and potential casters to prove themselves. Because what was exciting about this year is that there were quite a lot of community tournaments. Some of them were really cool and professional in this sense. So some of the casters managed to impress me and the team with the level of their professionalism and with the level of their approach. So I think there is some room for experiments for us next year.
Nice. This is also another semi-leak. So yeah.
This is a good comment right now in the chat that knowing Shinmiri, he could do analyst, caster, and interviewer and still play himself in the meantime. Yes, but he will be roping as hell in this case, so we can't let him.
Oh my god. All right. And yeah, it's time for a short summary as well for the season 2 in general. We asked that question, Pavel, too. And yeah, how do you look at the season 2? Are you happy with how it played out? Was the online format satisfying for you guys? And are you planning to continue doing that if the corona situation continues, or even without the corona situation?
So with season 2, I think overall, of course, we didn't finish it yet, so it's too early to close the book completely on this one. But so far, I'm pretty satisfied. As I said, it was a little bit disappointing for me that we were not able to have these awesome events offline. I think it really always adds to the quality of the production. But all things considered, I think the changes to the formats, to the format that we made between seasons 1 and season 2 really were positive. I actually was speaking with a lot of pro players, getting their feedback and asking them questions if they like the new format and what they don't like about this new format. I think we arrived at a pretty good solution. All things considered, like there are still some things for us to fix, but on the previous stream on Open 4, I was already talking about moving out from licensed tournaments and then introducing rewards for CP rewards for qualifier winners and runner-ups. So I think with some of these minor changes, the overall system is pretty good. Like, I do believe that we have a healthy foundation for the scene, especially if the next year, in terms of the pandemic situation, won't be much better than this one. I hope it's not the case, but we have to plan for worse. In this sense, I do believe that we have a working system with a proven concept which we can continue.
All right.
And to follow up on that, what were the largest issues that you had to overcome in order to make the season happen? Because I can imagine that putting it together on such a short notice was quite a challenge.
Yes, it was, and from production perspective, it's still very challenging. Unfortunately, every time we're doing the event, we have some hiccups here and there. People that are watching the whole event, they know what I'm talking about. Sometimes there are some delays. Sometimes we have some issues with the connection on stream. It's all very painful. It takes a lot of effort from the team to work on these things, to quickly fix if something is broken in the middle of the tournament. So yeah, it's a lot of effort. But I also must say that fortunately, we had some time to prepare, because first 2 opens, we had external production company that here in Poland that helped us with the production. So we had a chance to get ready to take this in-house and to make sure that we can do it from our own studio. And I think right now we're in a much better shape than in the beginning of the year, where we basically had almost no one who could do these events in online format. And right now we have a very nice team that know what they're doing.
All right. Awesome. And also, we have a pretty interesting question from chat as well. Have you guys considered looking into casting the qualifiers officially?
Yes. I was thinking about this even for this year, but since the tournament platform release got delayed versus the original expectations, and I think we're still struggling with fixing some of the very annoying bugs, which sometimes preventing people from playing in the tournaments or casting the tournaments. I'm really sorry about these issues. I think also when I was, talking on stream for Open 4, I was a little bit more optimistic than needed. And regarding the state of the tournament platform, we actually, after the stream was done, we received quite a few reports that, okay, this doesn't work and that doesn't work, which is right now is being fixed. But still, it's a complicated project, so to say. It's very clunky when it comes to to everything which happens behind the scenes on the tournament platform. Like all this back-end, front-end connections, and multiple things can be broken without us realizing this until the tournament is on. So I hope that this will be fixed soon. Basically ASAP, and once we can be comfortable with trusting to the tournament platform to handle spectators well, we can totally have the maybe not the full day of qualifiers, because it will be super long,
pretty long.
But I think if we will pick the featured matches properly, so maybe, I don't know, maybe semifinals and finals, maybe something like that, it's totally doable. And we can definitely agree that there is a value of seeing how players are playing on this level.
Yeah, I definitely think that people would like to see the lineups from the qualifiers, because they are, in a lot of situations, they are different from the ones that are played during the tournament, right? Because
Of course.
this qualifiers setup, favors certain decks and certain strategies, so people are actually using that. So yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. All right, let's jump to maybe a bit sadder story of the first Masters finale. Are there any news on the first Masters, and when do we expect to know more about that?
Right, I don't have much to add to the latest update that I gave at Open 4. So as you know, we postponed the Masters Season 1 final to next year. The original, let's say, ETA was Q1. It still is, but of course we will be looking at the situation with the pandemic early next year, just to understand if it will make sense for us to wait for the situation to be better, so we could organize it offline with awesome production value and whatnot. But if it won't be the case, we are of course not intending to wait for another year or even 6 months more to have it. So we will be then switching to the online and just trying to salvage as much as we can from our old offline production plans and try to transfer this into the online format.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, and do we have the ready setup of the players for World Masters 1? Or is it still a subject to change?
No, it's pretty much the lineup is known already by that moment.
All right, pretty great. And okay, so are you planning to implement any significant changes to the concept and setting moving forward when we come out of the pandemic situation, or it's pretty much you're satisfied with the setups that you had organized before?
For the offline events, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we always experimenting with those. I think when the pandemic will be finally over and we could back to the studio, the first and foremost thing for us would be to remember how to do it offline, because when you're not doing something for a long time, it always takes some time just to remember the basics. And then once we can have this, maybe assuming it will happen sometime in the middle of the next year, then it means that we could have one open in the new, once again, in the offline format. We will see how it will go, and then we would use this as a baseline for the future improvements. Like right now, all I know that we will continue to use the RStudio for this, and right now we're not planning to move the action for opens at least to any other location. But that's it basically.
All right, great. Oh yeah, people here are asking about the lineup again. Well, Vlad told us that the lineup is already set up, but yeah, another question like Hanachen or Casper are gonna play in World Masters 1. You don't have like any, cancellations, rejections from them?
Well, actually, maybe I need to clarify here a little bit. It's set up in the sense that we know who is eligible, but as you remember, like last year, there were some changes in the lineup based on the availability and desire to play from players. So I'm talking about life coach here, right? So he's like legally he's still eligible to take his spot. So once we will have a new date and we could pinpoint it and we will be inviting players, he's still first in the line to receive this invitation. And based on his reply, like all future replacements might be taken or not taken. So we were not taking away his spot based on the fact that he refused once.
All right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And, with that being said, it's the end of the year, so season 3 about to start, in a couple of months. So what can we expect from that? What can we expect from season 3? What kind of changes are you looking at right now compared to season 2?
Well, I think I touched on this briefly, but in short, the main changes would be that there will be more sources of crown points from placing high in the qualifiers for players. Another change is that we're no longer will be doing licensed tournaments, meaning that it will be impossible at the same time to win crown points in the non-official tournaments. Like this is the two changes which are most prominent. Basically, we're keeping the old system with the same number of qualifiers, same number of opens, and of course, World Masters at the end. And I think another thing which I can mention is that I'm very satisfied with how our little experiment with season 2 crowdfunding elements in esports was doing. When we gave the opportunity for people to support the pro scene by purchasing certain bundles and packs. Definitely, we would like to extend it for the next year. I think it was a success so far, and that's something that I'm excited for season 3 as well.
All right, Hesser, do we have any more questions regarding the competitive scene?
Well, we have one, and we can actually mention something else connected with that question too. One person was asking, what's the prize pool for Masters 2 so far? And by the way, guys, you can actually contribute to that pool. Vlad actually posted not so long ago a tweet on Twitter. I'm going to send it here in chat. But yeah, Vlad, could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell you already, like what's the prize pool. I mean, sure, okay, I will tell you. So 50K is the base prize pool, 50K USD that CDPR provides. That hasn't changed. I think the mystery and maybe what you're actually asking about is how much money were already generated by the sales of Where Rat bundle, Where Rat year bundle, the one with the sewers board and the Wraith skin, which was contributing to the prize pool of Masters all year long. This I won't share yet. I can tell you that it's a substantial amount of money. So it's not peanuts, and I'm definitely very thankful for players for all their support. But we would like to reveal the final numbers once the period for this, for the crowdfunding opportunities will be over, which will be just shortly, maybe a couple of days before the tournament will start in December. Because still the Where Red bundle is contributing to this, but also as in this tweet that you quoted, we also brought back all bundles which were previously contributing to different opens. So they once again available for purchase, and this time 30% of the proceeds are going also to boost the prize pool of World Masters Season 2. So let's see if we will manage to double it or not.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, 50K is already a pretty substantial amount of money, but if you're saying that we have still more to get from the community, then definitely it's going to be even better for the players. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, initially I was kind of skeptical about the community aspect of the prize pool, but so far so good. The community hasn't disappointed. The prize pool has always been substantially impacted by the bundles. So you're saying we are hoping to double the price for the masters. I think it's achievable, considering how generous the community tends to be.
Yeah, I think it's
But
pretty much all right.
if we don't have any more questions about the competitive Gwent, then we should move towards the personal Q&A, where we are going to ask about your background and your work and what you're doing. And the first question is, could you shed some light on your typical day-to-day routine as a live ops director? Like, what are your typical tasks, especially when we are in the so-called off-season?
Well, the so-called off-season is only applicable to the esports, right? And actually, esports these days occupies very little of my time, and that's true even when the season is on. I'm still, in charge of all our esports activities, but I just don't have the same focus than I used to in the beginning of my work there in CD Projekt. So majority of my time actually right now goes into analyzing how the game is doing in terms of business, understanding what's the player sentiment around the new features which we're introducing or activities that we're running, stuff like that. Finding new ways for how to optimize and improve the health of the game, which means the key metrics which we're following both on the engagement and on monetization fronts. And of course, I'm still working very close with the comms team, which is right now led by Buja, for all things related to the communication. So it's not only about the gathering feedback, but also how we're announcing our plans, how we explaining the new features and why we're doing certain things. So that's also my area of interest and my area of responsibilities. When esports season is on, I'm of course responsible for planning all our tournaments and what exactly will be happening. So I'm planning so-called run of the show for each of the opens and masters. And also less fun part of my responsibilities is taking care of the paperwork, because every time we're working with some amazing talents and sometimes with partners such as external studios or vendors, and it also requires some inevitable paperwork for signing these deals and making sure that everyone gets paid and whatnot.
All right, we have actually a follow-up for that one as well from the chat. How do you balance between personal life and life as a Gwen dev? Because, well, not the Gwen dev, but live ops director, because it sounds like a workload is pretty huge. So how do you deal with that?
What's personal life? Okay, I'm joking. No, I'm actually fine. To me, the life/work balance questions are always tricky, because I know it depends on the person. Like personally, I don't feel that I don't feel this very distinctive boundary border between my work life and my personal life. Like, sure, there is a certain time of the day when I can just switch off my PC and play a board game with my wife, or I don't know, reading fairy tale to my daughter. But other than that, when I'm not working, I'm still thinking about work. And I know it's not because someone is forcing me to do that. It's just the way, when you're passionate about something, you're trying to generate ideas, and some difficult problems occupy your mind for a while. And like I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. There's, when you're doing something that you care about, there is no like working hours and non-working hours really. But apart from that, I feel very comfortable working on the Gwen team, and so far it was one hell of a journey.
All right, awesome.
And you said that you're spending time with your wife or your kid. You are not originally from Poland. Are you guys
No.
learning Polish?
My wife knows it quite well. She actually learned it when we moved here. I started to learn it, so I would say it's safe to say I know it on the level of Jason probably. So I can stick a couple of words here and there, but I can't really speak it. Like I can understand a lot of Polish because just because Polish and Russian is so similar to each other, but I'm not comfortable speaking it.
All right, that answers my question.
Yeah, I've actually heard your wife speaking Polish during one of the podcasts or lectures from the Russian community organization, because I'm following that, and they were actually talking about the art, right? That was pretty
I had
awesome.
no idea. Wow. Okay.
All right. So let's move to the next one. You've already worked for two giants in the gaming industry, CDPR and Riot Games, and we wanted to ask, how would you compare these experiences and company cultures?
Well, it's definitely two very prominent companies in the game industry landscape. I would say they're very different. Like first of all, because their expertise lies in a completely different areas, so to say. I think in case of Riot, it was free to play area from the start, and they went all into this direction. With CDPR is mostly known for as a developer of one of the best, if not the best, RPGs of all times. So even like the expertise, I think, dictates some of the difference. I think cultural wise and organizational wise, it's also very different because Riot is an American company with HQ located in US, and CDPR is from Poland with HQ located in Warsaw. I think it also affects the way things are and how the communication happened within the company. What's the, let's say, the philosophy of people in general? Not just particular people that work in Riot or in CDPR, but it's more about like the differences between nations, more so to say, right? With Americans probably being more cheerful and optimistic, and with Europeans being more pragmatic maybe, and sometimes less optimistic, so to say. But on the high level, to me, the biggest difference really when I switched jobs was in Riot. I used to work in a regional office, so not in HQ. And with CDPR, I had this opportunity to join the team in HQ, so at the very center of where things are, and it feels very empowering to work in the middle of it all. I had a great chance to influence multiple things during that 3 years at CDPR, and they were very rewarding for me on many levels, and especially in terms of the professional growth. So all I can say is that I'm super happy to be here. I'm also happy about my past. I learned a lot during my time at Riot as well, and hopefully I can use some of the best practices here in my job in CDPR as well.
All right, great. That explains it. But yeah, as a follow-up, as you mentioned, you were actually working on a completely different project. And well, if you were to compare the live operations and esports in MOBA project and in CCG, what are the main differences between those?
Well, I think those are quite different when it comes to live ops area. Actually, I think the difference is somewhat similar as with esports, right? So mobile games are PvP as well as CCG, but this is a team-based esports, right? So I think it makes all the difference when it comes to the organizing of the tournaments, when we're talking about the general esports ecosystem. I think both genres require smart plays and strategic minds, but maybe CCG is a little bit less demanding to quick reflexes, rapid decision making. So you don't have to be in a great physical shape, so to say, in order to be a mastermind CCG player. But both genres require like intelligence, right? Require great understanding of the game, require some decision making. So that's the same. When it comes to also to the esports similarities, I think in general there are some best practices in esports regarding just how events are made, how the show coverage is made, how the good production value look versus the bad production value, which is pretty much universal, not really depending on the genre. So when I'm working on Gwen esports events, I'm always trying to get some inspiration, not only from my past job, but also from all the events which are happening right now, for example, in first-person shooter space, or I don't know, games like Rocket League, or basically any esports which is happening right now in the world. I think there are some great and not so great things to be inspired, and of course, I'm trying to focus on the best practices. And finally, when since we're talking about live ops, also, I think there are many universal truths which are applicable to both genres. Like ultimately, people tend to look for the same things in gaming. They want to have fun, and they are looking for some big plays which would make them feel good. So I don't think it's really different between, let's say, League of Legends and Gwen. In both games, there's this super overwhelming, empowering feeling of, oh, I just did something amazing, and that's how it's turned out, right? So if you watch Dandelion show, right, like you know what I'm talking about, like some big place with complete change of the state of the board. This is super like exciting element in both games, and I think that's the really key to popularity of any game, not just CCG or MOBA.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we can understand why Gwent is really popular among Twitch viewers. If you just take a look at the way the game looks itself, if you compare it to the other card games, obviously, if you just take a look at the numbers, you can't unfortunately see that. But I think that I've watched a lot of CCG games and tournaments, and I think that Gwent is really enjoyable when watching. And these big plays are there, and the big plays done by the really masterminds of CCGs are being conducted here and there. So absolutely, I think it's only going to develop in that direction. But speaking of
and just one more thing to follow up here.
Sure.
I think so. The big plays, yes, they're already existing in Gwent. What is maybe not entirely there, or the one area in which we're lacking as a game, is let's say the visual representation of this display. So like how many cards have unique effects on the board? Sure. How does it feel to play legendary card and stuff like that? And that's something that we're very actively looking into, because we also want the game not only to feel great when you're executing some amazing move, but also look great at that moment, which in my opinion should also like raise, let's say, the popularity of the game on Twitch, because if someone comes from other game, for example, maybe from other CCG or from other genre, to see what Gwent is about, it may be difficult to understand like how cool was something that just happened if you are not the active players, if you don't really know like why it was so amazing. But if there will be more effects which will kind of highlight the awesomeness of what just going on, and I'm talking about, for example, I think Shiru is very nice. So if you never played Gwent before, it's very easy understand instinctively that okay, something big just going on, like half of the board just disappeared, like boom. That's cool, right?
Yeah,
we need more stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's the thing that a lot of, maybe we shouldn't talk about the other games right now, but this is, I think, the reason that people got attracted to Runeterra, for instance, because the hero cards entering the board and evolving was something that, a lot of people were excited about, and they are happy to see that happening during some tournaments. So that would be great to see in Gwent as well in the future. But yeah, also Buja mentioned that, and now you're confirming the plans. So yeah, we can't wait to see those awesome animations for the gold cards, for the legendary cards. All
Absolutely,
right,
definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, but speaking, we spoke a lot about the esports scene, and I would like you to compare also the Polish esports scene and the Russian one, or the global one. How does it look like right now? A lot of people are saying that esports companies, like, even if you take a look at the stocks market, then you can see that esports is evolving and developing in Poland pretty rapidly. But what do you think about it? What's your take on that?
Well, all I can say is that I think Poland is a very prominent country on the global map of esports relevant countries. There are quite a lot of famous Polish e-athletes in different genres, actually. So Jankos in League of Legends, Pasha Biceps in Counter-Strike, Tailbot in Gwent. There are quite a few very big names, and obviously Gwent Pro scene from Poland is very strong, and I think it's only natural, just considering how Witcher is as a brand is popular here in Poland.
Yeah.
And actually, same can be said about the Russian speaking countries, not only Russia, but all countries which speak the same language. We have basically the same folklore. So the game is also very popular, east of Poland, and in this part of the world, we also have very prominent professional community of players. So to me, like both markets are powerhouses when it comes to esports. Yeah, like when it comes to Gwent, I'm actually excited to see more countries to be put on the map with players, making them famous because of their great performance in Gwent. So far, I think there are a few countries which have more strong popular players than others. Like definitely Poland, Russia, China, Germany. Definitely, comes to mind first when we're talking about Gwent Pro scene. Like I personally would like to see more players from US with Red Rain, kind of opening the gate for them. I hope there will be some follow up maybe next year with more people representing the flag. But yeah, like it's amazing to see that there are players from all over the world, right? Like we had Poisons from Latin America last time, and it was super exciting as well. So they're very excited about the global nature of Gwent in this sense.
Yeah, it's getting more and more international. The Spanish community is also getting more active. You can see that on Twitter, in the tournaments as well. They're organizing more community events, and would be awesome to see them more. And obviously, yeah, the US with the big entrance of Big Rain and all the emotions during the tournament. That was awesome to watch.
Yes, true that.
But speaking of community involvement, how did you come up with the idea of community helping with the qualifiers administration? Because Claymore has been quite essential in that process.
It wasn't exactly, an Eureka moment, not a sudden struck of some genius idea. Really, the Claymore were active for quite a while at the moment where we decided to work with them, when I decided to get in touch and to actually offer this cooperation to their admin, to Snake. The story goes back into 2017. I think we had some so-so experience with one of the communities / companies which were running a challenger qualifier. I think it was maybe one of first of the kind for December Challenger, if I remember correctly. or maybe it was actually for Next Challenger, the one in Velichka salt mine. My memory fails me a little bit, but anyway, I think the very first experience we did with some other community was not so positive. So I decided that, okay, maybe instead of just trying to find a partner which would help us with organizing the qualifiers outside of the Gwen community, maybe we should look inside, and we should look for people that know how to do tournaments, which are truly passionate about it, and really care about the results, really care about the players, about their experience, and can actively and proactively manage the flow of the tournament. So it's not like with the first sign of issue, they just step outside and saying, okay, not my problem, that's all CDPR fault, like we have nothing to do with that. So Claymore proved to be exactly a partner like that. I'm extremely happy to work with them during all this time. They proved to be super reliable and super friendly, I think, both for us and for players. So a huge kudos to Snake, sending my love to him for being such an awesome leader for this collective of players and admins. You guys are the best.
Great. He was actually supposed to be, another guest on our show today. Unfortunately, he got sick. But so maybe next time we'll see him and talk about the details as well. So yeah, shout out to Eric, aka Snake. Hope you get well soon, man. And we'll see you in another episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, Hesser, do we have more questions from chat?
Yeah, actually, we have a couple more here I'd like to ask. The one about the Gwen marketing was actually quite interesting. There was a question if you believe that Gwen marketing outside of Europe should be increased. Should there be any changes for that on that field?
But I'm always, kind of puzzled by the questions about Gwent marketing. Like, sure, maybe we're not famous for like spending crazy amounts of marketing money, so your whole news feed in Facebook, let's say, are filled with Gwent advertisements. So we're not Shadow Raid Legends or whatever is the name of the game is in this regard. It doesn't mean that we're not spending on advertising the game, right? Actually, majority of our spend is outside of the Europe. So I don't know what exactly makes the people who asking these questions think that Europe is being the main target of our campaigns. It's not entirely true. It's true that Europe is one of the best organic markets for us, meaning that a lot of players from Europe, just discover the game on their own, not because of the advertisement, but because it's already such a established brand, and people are like actively looking for it. So in this sense, we never stopped advertising the game, like at least starting from early 2019, I think. We still have plans to continue to do so, and of course we're always looking for the ways to optimize this process to make sure that our creatives, this trailers or static images or whatever, which is being used for the campaigns, they're actually on point and they are exciting enough for people to consider, giving Gwent a try. And by all means, it's not an easy task, right? It's a quite hardcore game, which is not for everyone. It can be advertised as the game that you can, invest 5 minutes of your time and get the immediate results. It's for people that, understand the commitment, the people that are appreciate the CCG genre in general, I think. And it's maybe quite meaningless to target people which are not really interested into hard games like at all. I doubt that Gwent can be their first CCG in this sense, unless they're die-hard Witcher fans, of course. In this case, I believe it's possible. Like I think it's possible to develop the love for the CCG genre starting from Gwent. So with marketing, like I don't know what to say here. We're never really stopped advertising the game, and we will continue to do so, and hopefully you will see some results of it as well. But one additional caveat here is that if you personally don't see Gwen advertisements, it means that our campaigns are actually working as intended, because that's how the targeting works. Like, we're actually trying to filter out the existing players, so you don't see this annoying trailers or pre-rolls on YouTube or Facebook posts if you're already an active player. So if your friends, which are not playing the game, see those, that means that we're doing something right.
Yeah, that explains it, I think, and it's good that Gwent is not becoming a Raid Shadow Legends in that terms, because those ads on YouTube are just awful.
Some of these ads are pretty hilarious. I mean, the 3D characters, and I think the humor in them is pretty cool. What I don't like is maybe the sheer amount of this advertisements.
True. Yeah, we also have a question about expecting more devs and people joining the Gwen team after the release of Cyberpunk. Obviously, the works are going to continue to go on Cyberpunk, because we know more or less the roadmap for the Cyberpunk and the plans for the multiplayer in the future. But yeah, are there any plans of developing the team after the release?
Well, it might happen. Let me put it this way. It's not like we were waiting for a certain date and we're waiting for an influx of devs from Cyberpunk all of a sudden starting to work on Gwent. As you said, like the roadmap for the future development already exists for them. So it might happen that we might get occasional help here and there when we need it. And this process was already happening during all this time. Like, we're even though Gwen team is quite independent, like whenever the need arises, we can always help each other. So sometimes, people that normally work on Cyberpunk are giving us a helping hand in Gwent, and sometimes it works the other way around. And I just assume that it's going to continue after the release of the game.
All right, awesome. Yeah, do we have some more time for other questions, Matt?
We are actually approaching the 2-hour mark, so maybe a small one.
All right, so yeah, let's pick up this one. We know that there were some sponsoring other streamers on some occasions, like Crip being sponsored for Thronebreaker. Is that something that you might consider again in the future? Hiring some more prominent streamers to promote the game?
I don't want to say no, we will never do this. I think the answer is that yes, maybe. Just to share a little bit more context here, I don't personally believe that just sponsoring any particular streamer. It can be anyone. It can be Ninja. It can be Creep again. It can be Shroud. Like just name any streamer for a limited amount of time would do us any good in the long term. Because at the end of the day, if the streamer is specializing at not in Gwent and his forte is something else, and that's where the taste of the majority of his audience or her audience lies, it means that it will be just a short-term distraction, which may or may not lead to any significant results. Like I do believe that working with streamers community, making sure that people that actually want to get into the Gwent receive the support that they need from us as a publisher, as a dev, should be provided. Yes, I think this is really needed, and this is the way to go. However, I don't believe into this short-term gain of just giving money to a particular person just to play for a day and then drop it forever, and no one ever will remember that. So I think if we're smart, we can find the ways to engage the streamers community better than we're doing it right now. Like totally right now, I'm not satisfied with let's say the level of like Gwent penetration of the streamers community, so to say.
Yeah.
Right on. So I think that exhausts our time limit for today, because we just approached the 2-hour mark. So with that being said, shameless plug. Vlad, if people wanna learn more about you, about your work, where can they find you?
Well, if you want to learn more about my work, please by all means play Gwen. This is the Witcher card game, so you can find hopefully you can find some of the results there. If you want to just to follow some of the updates from me, not always work related, mind you, but it's maybe 99% is. You can follow me on Twitter, so Thor Serpent. I think there is a link in the chat. I can see it right now, and I have the same nickname on Reddit. In case if you ever want to, to ask some questions or have some feedback about Gwent, we can also have a nice conversation there.
All right, Hesser, your turn.
All right, guys. So if you want to enjoy some Gwent and you want to play Cyberpunk in the future with me as well, you can drop at twitch.tv/Hesser Tavern. I'll be happy to see you there. And yeah, just play Gwent and let's anticipate the really good future for Gwent, as Vlad today told us. Can't wait to see season 3. We'll be definitely following that. And yeah, it'll be awesome.
Okay, guys. I would also like to remind you that if you want to stay in touch off stream, you can follow us on Twitter at Novigrad Podcast, and that this episode is going to be uploaded on YouTube, Spotify, and numerous other platforms either tonight or tomorrow. And with that being said, Vlad, Hesser, thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. The great time during this episode. And chat, thanks for being with us. Thanks for asking good question this time. And we'll see you guys around.
Thanks.
Thank you. Till next time. Take care.